ACES Interviews. Conversations to empower. Introducing Beaver Meadow.
Hello and welcome to ACES Interview Conversation to Empower. I'm Leo Speaker. I'm joined today by Beaver Meadow and award winner Somatic Sex Intimacy coach working with adults with visible and hidden disability facilitated and enabled sexual exploration and exploitation, sexual autonomy, and sexual sovereignty. Thank you for joining me, Lisa. I would love to know, do you think there has been a social shift in attitude toward disabled people seeking out the expertise and the sex therapy and partner surrogacy?
Hi, Leo. Thank you for inviting me onto your podcast. It's a real pleasure to be here. So in answer to your question, do I think that there are more people using this service? I might be a little bit biased because obviously it's the world that I live in. But when I take a bigger step back and look at the sexual landscape over, like, say, the last 40 years, you know, I'm an older bird now, I'm 50. So when I look at, you know, the way things were when I was younger in my 20s, and I'm particularly remembering when I was a dance movement therapist and I was training, doing my training and working with a group of disabled clients, and noticing that some of those clients in the dance movement sessions were inappropriately acting out their sexuality because they didn't have a sexual expression pathway. And so looking back to then, when there was zero sex education, people with disability were wholly desexualized. There was no, the conversation, you just didn't even have the conversation. I mean, you rarely had the conversation about sex amongst able-bodied people back then, right? So, you know, fast forward to now, what I'm seeing in my industry, in my work, is actually huge leaps forward. And it might not seem like that to you or to others, but because I'm at the cutting edge of this work, I can tell you that the way that we're moving is really encouraging. So, for example, there are now 3 clients in the UK that have this clinically referred and state funded, which is massive. Yeah, I can see a big smile on your face. I mean, that's massive. It's quite unofficial. It's the early stages. It's being pushed through by the disabled community themselves. The disabled community now, you know, they know that their sexual rights are protected by law, but they also know that they're not being enforced by anyone. And the reason that they're not being enforced is because nobody knows whose job it is to enforce sexual expression policies. So, you know, you might go to your GP doesn't have a clue. All they do is kind of like, you know, they might at best refer you to the TLC Trust website, which is an online platform that lists sex workers who are disability friendly. Or, you know, you might get referred to psychosexual therapy, potentially. Or, you know, you might get prescribed with some antidepressants and some Viagra and be told to get on with it, you know, use it or lose it type thing. So, so even though kind of like the law is all in place and it's not illegal to seek out professional services, whether that's sex work, traditional sex work, or whether that's something a little bit more alternative, like the work that I do, intimacy coaching and surrogacy work, there's progress, is what I want to say. Yes.
So good to hear that actually progress is being made. And when you say that, well, cases where actually being funded. That a huge step forward is, I suppose, the recognition by disabled people, um, all people have a sexuality, and they have the ability to explore that. So that seems like a big step forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Leah, I think it's, there's a wider picture going on in so much that sexuality generally for everyone is going through a bit of an upgrade. It's kind of shifting, the landscape is shifting. And as we kind of move out of, a heavily patriarchal structure where sex kind of sat in the realm of, secrecy and kind of shame and fear and guilt. And, it's kind of like hidden, the last, particularly the last 10 years, there's been an explosion in having sex conversations generally across the board in all sectors of society. So, and we're seeing this with, largely driven forward by, I would say, the LGBTQI plus communities, also by the Tantra communities and the conscious sexuality communities, and also by the Me Too movement that's kind of demanding that we shift away from performative, goal-orientated structures around what sex is, and moving more towards conscious sexuality and consent and intimacy, and reframing it, taking it out of the sex education and adult entertainment industry and moving it into the realms of health and well-being. And then one of my clients who's applying for funding says that in the care package there is an element for, is it emotional and psychological concerns? Is that what they call it? I think it is.
I'm not sure of the top of my head what it called, but I can say that in my personal experience that has never even been mentioned at all. Like, it's about basic survival if you're lucky. Really.
Yeah, exactly. So now that the I don't know who the organizations are that write these assessments that determine what care package you have, but there is a domain called emotional and psychological needs or welfare, and so in sexuality falls into that. And you're right, it's like, who do you have those conversations with? Is it your GP? Is it your carer? Is it your occupational therapist if you have one? Where do you go and say, look, I'm not happy because I don't know how to, explore my sexuality. I've been desexualized all my life because I'm disabled, or, whatever the reason. There are many reasons of why people aren't able to form healthy sexual relationships or explore intimacy, right? Disability is just one group of society that is desexualized. And I'm thinking about, I see more and more clients with what we call incel culture, with that incel ideology. I see more adults that are mature adult virgins because of, could be religion, it could be disability, it could be chronic illness, lifelong illness. Like you said about survival, I remember one client who had was diagnosed with a brain tumor when he was a teenager, and so his formative years, where you get to explore your sexuality, was spent fighting for his life and being in hospital most of the time. So that had to be put on hold. And then he came to me later on in his life and said, I want to explore that now. But he didn't want to go and see a sex worker. And what other options are there if you actually want to have a serious, conscious inquiry into your sexuality beyond watching porn or hooking up or going and seeing a sex provider, right? There isn't really an official route for people like that yet, but that's changing. We're working on that. I'm writing a book at the moment to help fill that gap, because clearly there is demand. I mean, my private practice, I've been working for 5 years now with clients. I'm inundated. I'm so busy. I am at capacity. I have a waiting list. I can't see everyone that needs this work. So there's a demand there. So we have to figure out how to best deliver this work safely, legally, ethically, so that the clinical industry can get on board with it and actually refer clients to us.
Yeah. My second question to you is, what do you find empowering?
What do I find empowering generally in life? Is this a general question or in relation to my work?
You can answer it in what other capacity, like in relation to your work or you as a person.
Okay, interesting question. Okay, what do I find empowering? So because I work in a bit of a grey area, technically partner surrogacy, it's not endorsed by any medical therapeutic body profession. So I operate independently, and I'm often questioning, or I have to question the validity of my work, because it kind of straddles conscious sex work on one way you could argue, because I'm touching clients, there's two-way touch between me and clients, and there's financial exchange. People who can't see nuance say, oh, well, you're just a sex worker. Okay, you're a sex worker. Why are you trying to dress it up as something that it isn't? You're being in sexual situations with clients and you're getting an exchange of money. That's sex work. And people find it quite difficult to see the nuance and the difference between adult entertainment, which is what sex work is, and health and well-being and personal growth and development, and the way that I work. And they're quite different. There are huge differences. And what I find empowering is when I'm when I'm acknowledged, professionally acknowledged and celebrated for the work that I do. That keeps me going. So just recently, I won Somatic Sexologist of the Year at the Sexual Freedom Awards, and got my trophy. And that, you know, in my moments of doubt and my moments of questioning my motivation for doing this work, things like that, to be things like this, to be invited to give podcasts. I quite often get asked to go to conferences. I just recently did sex and traumatic brain injury conference, speaking alongside some amazing pioneers in this work that are far more qualified than me. I find that empowering. I feel empowered by that. I feel like that they want to hear what I've got to say. And yeah, that makes me feel good. It makes me feel empowered. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, like you said, this area has come on from what you were saying. It had definitely come on in its awareness and development. But I suppose that it's just a long way to go to make it more kind of mainstream with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I see, what I notice in the field of sexuality, or sexology, if you like, or the study of sexuality, is that there are so many people that go that are being trained in conscious sexuality modalities, So, and then setting themselves up as sex coaches, sex educators, podcast experts. And they're going and doing these, like, quite comprehensive, semi-clinical psychosexual courses. They might, they're not affiliated to any university, but they are comprehensive. And they are looking at conscious sexuality and awareness and consent, but really deep diving into consent. Feeling, becoming empowered around your sexuality and being trauma informed. And loads of really amazing courses are happening all over the globe, actually, and all over the UK. You've got sexological bodywork, you've got psychosexual somatics training, the Wheel of Consent. You've got Shawnee Love's Conscious Kink and BDSM certification for practitioners. I mean, there's loads of stuff out there, and people are actually signing up and doing these courses, and it's really popular. Orgasmic meditation courses are all the rage. And so you've got a whole cohort, a new generation of people that are learning what conscious sexuality is. So that's going to have a massive impact on society at large, because if you've got a whole generation growing up with consent conversations and knowing what actual consent really is about, not just about, hey, do you want to have sex? Yes, let's go. That's not consent, right? So that is really exciting. That at the moment it feels like just me and a handful of other people, but actually there are many students of sexology that already have a large portion of the work done. If I can come in and just deliver the bit around disability, because that's my speciality, then there's no reason why alternative conscious sexuality practitioners, coaches and educators can't go mainstream.
Yeah, well, really quite valuable, and I think the added dynamic of disability is important, because kind of make sure that people with disability are not left out of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my next question is, what difference would you like to see or make in the world?
Exactly what you just said. So whenever there's a conversation around sex and disability, have actually someone with a disability contributing to the conversation. Yeah, that. And also accessibility is a biggie, right? All of my clients, without exception, say it's not my disability that prevents me from accessing sex life. It's the world that I live in. It's my environment. It's that I can't get into that sex shop because they don't have a ramp. It's that I can't go to that play party because it's not accessible. There isn't a disabled toilet. I can't have a sex life because I live with my parents still, and I don't have any privacy, and they wouldn't approve if I had a sex worker or a sex coach come to visit me. It's clients that have single medicalized beds because they have been medicalized all their life, and when it's time to come in, I come in and do a sensual or sexual session with them. It's never occurred to them to sleep in anything other than a single bed, right? And then I categorically say, I'm not doing session on a single medicalized blow-up airbed. No, I refuse to do it. I've broken too many. I've set the alarms off too many. And it's like being on a bouncy castle, and my legs really hurt the next day. So things like that you wouldn't, you wouldn't, unless you have a disability or you have secondary lived experience of it, you wouldn't even think about it. It wouldn't even occur to you some of the barriers that are in the way that a lot of my disabled clients have to figure out or overcome.
Yeah, it's interesting the way you say about like beds and things. It feels like not even been thought of that someone may actually want to share that bed with someone else. Like, it's not even on the radar of thoughts sometimes, and it would be nice if that would change. Like, when you were talking about the bed, it made me think about like booking hotels in Perth. When I was it with my partner, and you find it to book, and you say a double room plan, and they automatically say to invest,
Yes.
and then like no, not to invest actually, and like would they have said that to me if I if I didn't have a disability?
Yeah, probably definitely not, I would say.
Mm.
Yeah, I often get that. So one of my my visions for the future of my work is to actually have a purpose designed, state-of-the-art, fully accessible space where I can work with clients. And that's really hard to find a space like that here in London, and also to build and create that, right? So if anyone's got like a spare $500,000, send it my way, and that's what I'll create. Inclusive intimacy space. But yes, I mean, I often have to work in hotel rooms because I don't have a space that I can work in, and that's really not okay. It's I can't control the environment. I often can't. The facilities aren't up to par. There is one hotel in London that's amazing. It's the Premier Inn in Archway. I'm just going to do a shout out to them, because they're the only hotel that I found in the whole of this country that is firstly affordable. That's quite important. But secondly, it's fully ceiling hoisted. So you can hoist in and out of a bath. And most of my clients have never even had a bath, let alone had a bath with a partner. So to be able to hoist a client in and out of a bath, beautiful way to relax, beautiful way to be in your body in a different way. And it's something that able-bodied people just take for granted, that you can have a bath whenever you like, and you can have a bath with your partner. So this hotel with this ceiling hoist that runs on a track all the way into the bathroom and on and off the toilet and in and out of the bed, it's amazing, it's perfect. And I'll definitely create that in my inclusive intimacy space when I come to design one, in consultation with the disabled community, of course.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a very good hotel. Let's hope that you can one day make fully inclusive, fully accessible consultation. And so that would make a lot of difference, wouldn't it?
Yes, it really would, and it would mean that I wouldn't have to travel so much, because I'm often all around the country visiting clients, and sometimes it's because it's easier for them because they might have mobility issues, but often it's because they're set, they've got their setup and they trust it, and it's easier. But if I had something here with all of the equipment needed, then that's another option that I can offer clients, and the possibilities are endless. Yeah.
They certainly are. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. It's really, really interesting to talk to you and learn a bit more about what you do. How and where can people connect with you?
So I have a website, thedisabilitysexcoach.com, and I'm on TikTok and Instagram, the Disability Sex Coach. But I do need to warn your listeners and just to set an expectation, because I'm not actually taking on clients at the moment. I'm writing a book, so I've taken some annual leave. So if if you do reach out to me and I don't get back to you, it's because I'm working on the advocacy side of my role and less on direct client work. Hopefully, because putting my energy into writing the book and setting up a service delivery model for the NHS will actually help more people in the long run.
Yeah, great. And I will share your website and your Instagram and TikTok with this interview. Just thank you very much for joining me, and thank you to everybody who watched this interview. And Ace's interview will be back soon with another valuable conversation. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Ace's interviews. Find out more about Beaver Meadow in the show notes. Don't forget to like, subscribe and follow.